Okay. Office and BI seem to have a tighter grip on each other with each version coming out. Power Pivot with SharePoint and SQL Server 2008 R2, Project Analyzed on Performance Point Services, Access Services leveraging reporting services, Microsoft BI indexing connector, and so on and so forth. Where do you feel the synergy works best?
I think the best synergy has been in Excel, for sure. And the reason for that, I think, is simply that the Excel team understand both the data and the visualization aspects of business intelligence very, very well. And we actually took developers from our team and put them into Excel. We have, I think it was about 10 developers and testers from Analysis Services went and worked in the Excel building and worked with the Excel team. And that's very unusual in Microsoft. Normally teams do cooperate, but actually taking people from your team and putting them into another team was unusual. So I think we work best with Excel. In terms of the synergy for customers in the future, I think SharePoint is just going to be so important. SharePoint is a fastest growing server in Microsoft history, but also SharePoint is where people collaborate. It's where they share information. And business intelligence, it's not just about people sitting in cubicles doing analysis, it's about people sharing analysis and creating insights that can be shared across the company to make the whole company better. And so by its nature, it's a very collaborative process. So I think in the future, you'll see SharePoint being a huge contributor to BI.
Okay. Except for Power Pivot, and you mentioned it before, I feel like in this release there has also been a big push of SQL Azure, the relational database technology for the cloud from Microsoft. What can you tell us about the roadmap you may have for BI through that platform?
That's a great question. You've got a lot of great questions today. These are all super ones. You know, for Azure, there's two things about Azure I think that we can say. One is that as the first relational database in the cloud, it's having kind of nice impact there. And like many things we do in SQL Server, the Azure architecture is basically the same as standard SQL Server architecture. You can query it in just the same way. You can just change the connection string, and one day you're pointing at a Azure server, and the next day you're pointing at an enterprise server. So reporting services, Power Pivot, integration services, they can all read from Azure today. So in that sense, we're very integrated already, and we love that, the fact that we can read data from the cloud so easily. The next stage is, well, what about having data on the cloud and reporting on it on the cloud, or doing other analysis? And I think you'll see very soon that you'll see some examples of technologies where we're actually reporting on the cloud. I think reporting is the first thing that people will do.
Yeah.
And then maybe in the future analysis on the cloud as well of some sort.
Really? Analysis services?
Well, we had an example just last year. We stopped it earlier this year.
The data mining?
Yeah, data mining on the cloud. You know, we can do that. We can do other things as well. That was an experiment which showed us some of the things that we could do, and I think we'll do that again.
Great. What have you been hearing from customers that you feel has been addressed the best way in SQL Server 2008 R2?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to say it again. These are good questions, because actually one of the things that really drove us in R2 was customer demand, and the thing that we heard from customers, I still hear it from customers, is business users need flexibility. IT departments need to understand what business users are doing. The way customers would often say would be, our business users want to be able to do their own thing, but the IT department want to be able to control that. And because the IT department is concerned about security and scalability and manageability, but the business users just want to solve the problems. They don't want to wait for IT to build a new report or build a new data warehouse. So I think the work that we did, and we did this very special thing in Power Pivot, we don't talk about self-service, we talk about managed self-service. And that difference is really important. We put a lot of effort into the management side to make sure that we gave power to the end users, but we gave IT, what we say, insight and oversight, so that they can help to control that process. And that's turned out to be just one of the best things that we've done. And I think that came really from listening to customers very closely. We did a lot of customer feedback on things like the user interface. We worked with them very carefully on that. But I always think of those as being fairly minor tuning things. But the really big thing was providing IT with this level of control, while at the same time giving business users more flexibility.
Okay. What would you recommend BI developers learn right now as an investment to their career?
Well, if I was a BI developer now and I knew things like MDX and SQL and integration services, the next thing I would look at would be SharePoint. And a lot of BI developers don't think of SharePoint as being a BI server, but it is. It is now the heart of business intelligence because, as I said before, that's where you collaborate. It's no longer enough just to create a report or analysis. You now need to share it with people, interact with them, let them comment on it, let them modify it if necessary. And those things are best done through SharePoint. So SharePoint and the ownership of SharePoint servers is an important skill, I think, for business intelligence users.
Okay. Last but not least, I've recently been at a Microsoft Israel event for bloggers, and I know you keep 2 blogs of your own, and I wanted to ask you, what does blogging mean for you?
So blogging for me is a way of, I use it, it's different, say, from writing a white paper. Writing a white paper is educational. I'm trying to give people information that they're going to use. Blogging for me is more like having an informal conversation with people. I don't like to write blogs that are kind of full of marketing announcements and things like that. I mean, they're okay, they can be useful. I like blogs which give a kind of slightly more personal view of what's going on. And so they're a good way for me to do that and have a kind of personal conversation with a lot of people. And so I enjoy that aspect of it, sort of the personal side of blogging.
Great. Well, Mr. Farmer, thank you so much for your time. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.
And my name is Ella Mashiach. Bringing it back to you.